Good morning, welcome. Take a moment and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, like. If you're on Facebook, share, and we'll spread Chassidus around. Today's discussion, the Maimer, is Posach Eliyahu. It's a new Maimer, and it discusses the concept of 10 Sefiros, which are 10 divine emanations. There's a lot to discuss on this throughout Kabbalah, throughout Chassidus. Today we're going to focus on what is it and what is it not. It's a fundamental idea of what these 10 Sefiros, which we encounter all the time, will get some clarity of what it is. So the Maimer begins with Posach Eliyahu. Elijah opened up and he said that Amtu Chad, you Hashem, you're one, but you're not one in the numerical sense. Meaning, when you say you're one of something, so there's 10 of them and there's one of the 10. Obviously, that's not what Hashem is. You're one as the only one. So you're one, but you're not one in the count. Antu dapikas asar tikunin, you are the one, he continues, that from you emanate, come out the 10 garments, or what we refer to as Sefiros. In this context, it's called tikunin. So we need to understand, why are the 10 Sefiros called tikunin? Why not call it Sefiros? Especially that tikunin means something that fixes, corrections, garments, and here we're referring to it as tikunin. What's the significance of it? And by looking at the etymology of the word, we could understand a lot about what Sefiros are and what Sefiros are not. The reason why we learn this is in order to understand, to come to a love of Hashem, we want to learn as much as possible about Him as we can. And understanding the mechanism of how Hashem interacts with the world and how the energies flow into this world helps us grasp more of what Hashem is and what He's not. Obviously, you can never fully understand Hashem, and the more we know, the more we could develop that love towards Hashem. So our question number one is, we need to understand why does He refer to the 10 Sefiros as tikunin. There's other ways to say Sefiros, namely Sefiros. You can say levels. Tikunin means garments. Why is it called garments? To understand that, our question is...
Garments as in clothing?
Yeah, clothing. Elijah refers to the 10 Sefiros as garments. Why do we call it garments? To understand that, we need to understand what is our neshama. What's the mahus? What's the makeup? What is our neshama? What is it and what is it not? Kihine, because the nefesh mitzad atzma, the nefesh on its own, if you just want to analyze what is the neshama before it gets all the other categorizations and add-ons and so on, the neshama itself is an ur pashut. It's a simple light. It's a shine. That's all it is. It's not complex where there's categories and sub-levels and layers. It's a simple light. Simple in this context means it's very pure, it's potent, it's real. It's not like there's shades and different emanations, categorizations, and so on. You don't have in the nefesh seichel and midas, intellect and emotions, which is different levels of consciousness or different levels of how something could operate. The nefesh, the neshama that we all have, doesn't have any of that. It's just a very pure light. Once you get to seichel, it's already complex. There's already different stages to it, and one thing leads to another, and there's emotions. That's not what the nefesh is. The seichel and midas, which the nefesh does operate on, it works on that platform. When your neshama decides, I want to do the right thing, or I feel, or I want to love Hashem, or I want to understand, that's seichel and midas. That is something which was given to the neshama after its own essence. So there's the neshama, and then there's what's added onto the neshama. Okay, so you have the nefesh itself, then you have seichel and midas, which come on top of it. Okay, they're added to it. They're not the nefesh itself. Now, this is a very difficult thing to say. It's very novel, because anyone that learned Tanya, chapter 2, chapter 3, when he starts to describe what the nefesh is, he explains that the nefesh has garments, right? The garments are the modes of how we operate. And he says the garments is something which you think about. Things that you think are called garments, machshava. Things that you say, Dibur, speech, is called machshava. It's called the garment, and action. So there's three garments. There's thought, speech, and action. When you think about something, it's your choice. I could think, right, about this or about something else. Speech, I could decide to talk or not to talk. It's like clothes. I could put on my coat today or not put it on. It's not who I am. It's an additional thing or an expression of something that I feel or want to express. The same thing is action. When it comes to action, it's a garment. I could do the action or not do the action. It's not my essence. The only thing is that thought never ceases. You're always thinking. Even when you're sleeping, you're thinking. So it's a garment, not because you could turn it off or take it off, but because you can decide what you think about, which Tanya focuses so much on. We have control over what we want to think about. That's really in our hands. So in Tanya, he stresses that machshava dibur ma'aseh, the thought, speech, and action, meaning what I do, including thinking and saying, that's a garment. But my neshama, that's seichel and midas. So here we're saying that seichel and midas are Sefiros. They're separate from the neshama. They're not the essence. And in Tanya, it says, no. The separate, the garments, the tikkunin, the clothes, that's three things: thought, speech, and action. But intellect, emotion, that's real. That's who I am. That's part of the nefesh. It's contradiction. It's the same author, right? Alter Rebbe wrote that. So he says over here like this. It's probably from the Tzemach Tzedek, this parenthesis. He says the difference is that in Tanya he's trying to express that the real garments, meaning they're really distant from the neshama, are thought, speech, and action. But the 10 Sefiros, they're still garments. They're just a very unified type of garment, as we'll explain. So you have external and internal, very close and distant. Machshava dibur ma'aseh, thought, speech, and action is garments in the literal sense. It's your coat. You take it on and take it off. The 10 Sefiros, they're not the essence, but relatively speaking, to my mode of thought, speech, and action, they're much closer to me, to the extent that we even refer to it as the neshama. But now we want to really dissect it and analyze it and go a little bit deeper. It's not the essence of the neshama. The essence of the neshama is a pashut. It's a simple light. And regarding these levels, we say levushin tkinas loin, that I established for you garments. That's thought and speech and action. But when it comes to seichel and midas, which means the intellectual part of my neshama, it's my psyche, and the emotional parts of my psyche, not what I do with it, not what I say. You love somebody, you're not going to tell them, right? I'm not saying it. That feeling that I have within myself, it's not my essence. It's a layer on top of it. It's very close to me. It's very united with me, but it's not me myself. And therefore, he refers to it as the seichel and midas are the atzmiyus hanefesh. They're the essence, but it doesn't say essence literally. You ever heard the word mamish? So often in Tanya he says mamish because he wants to really bring out that this is actual, this is reality, this is the way it is. When it comes to the 10 Sefiros of the nefesh, he doesn't say atzmiyus because it's the nefesh, but it's not really the nefesh. Okay? We're live, so we got to be careful what we say. But when Torah prohibits cross-dressing, right? Torah says a man cannot wear the garment of a woman and vice versa. If the intent is that they want to go and hang out with men, or men want to hang out with women, in other words, make as if they're women, they're not allowed to do it. Not allowed to wear these garments. So the Onkelos Targum, the translation of the word in Aramaic of a man should not wear a garment of a woman is tikkunin, which is the same word that Elijah uses when he says about 10 Sefiros, he calls it tikkunin. So clearly, tikkunin means garments. The word, the definition of the word, the translation of the word is interchangeable. Garments versus tikkunin. So you're coming and you're describing 10 Sefiros, you're referring to them. We say this every Friday before the mincha. We're referring to them as garments. Okay, now garments mean something. Garments means they're either interchangeable or they're not my essence, or they serve a different function, right? But you see clearly they're called garments. What's the idea of tikkunin? So you have different types of garments. You have clothes that you wear. Then you have tachshitin. Tachshitin in Hebrew is ornaments, jewelry. Is there a better word than ornament? But ornaments. It's not your sweater. It's not your shirt. It's a a jewelry that's here to beautify you, to add something to you. Decorations. Okay. You can wear decorations. Now, you put it on, you become one with it, as if it's literally your body. And this is a very interesting concept. When you wear a jacket, you're wearing it either for warmth, for identity, like if you're a security guard, you want to wear a certain type of coat. If you're a doctor, you wear a certain type of coat. It's serving a purpose. It's not you. It's warming you. It's covering you, so you should be modest. It serves a purpose. When you put on a very fancy bracelet or necklace or whatever, that's not here to cover you up. It's not for modesty. It's not here to warm you. It's here to bring you out. So it's a different type of garment. When you say tikkunin, in the literal sense, yeah, it means garments. But if you get really to the bottom of it, what are Sefiros called? They're called tikkunin because they're not garments, the type of garment that cover over. So it's really external. It's meant to hide the person or to warm the person, to protect the person. It's the other way around. This garment is here to express and it's considered becoming united with, becoming one with the person. This is the type of garment that 10 Sefiros are. Thought, speech, and action, they're an external, separate thing from the person. They're just trying to express, or maybe not even express. I want to hide what I'm thinking. So I'm going to tell you good morning, and I'm going to smile because I don't want you to know that I'm sad. So it's not me. It's a garment, which is whatever. I'm wearing a very fancy jacket. I want you to think that I'm successful, but it's not me. It's just a garment. Okay? Another example of this, that you have garments that are very unified. They're very connected to the person, is the nefesh with the guf. Our body is a garment. It's a casing for our soul, right? Our soul is the neshama. It goes into a body. Is it you one with the body? It's a garment. Is it very distant from the body? It's not like a coat. You don't take it on, take it off. It becomes really, really one. It's united with the body. It's still not the neshama. There's a neshama and there's a body. But they're not, as far as as long as the person's alive, they function not like two separate entities, but they're really united one with the other. Classic example, which he brings here, is your body is so united with your soul that when your neshama says to your soul, to your body, let's walk, your foot starts to walk. Right? Boom. It doesn't take any time. It's not like we'll send a message, the foot is going to process it, it's going to decide, okay, I'm going to move. It's instinctive. It's instant. There's no gap of time in between. Why? Because it's so connected, they feel each other. So there's types of garments. There's a category of garment, thought, speech, and action, which is interchangeable, fully in control. It's not me. Hopefully it's influenced by me, but it's not me. I can do stuff which I'm a very kind person, but I'm doing something which is mean or wrong because it's not me. It's a garment for me. It doesn't excuse it, but it's a garment for me. Then there's garments that are really, really united with you. That's a 10 Sefiros. They're still not your essence. It's like the body to the neshama. Another example he brings here, when a person bangs their finger, the pain is in the neshama. Right? If your sweater gets ripped, you don't feel it. Right? When you find out, you're annoyed, but you don't feel it. But when your body gets hurt, your neshama feels a pain. Why is that? Because the neshama is very united with the body is very united with the neshama. That's a tikkunin level. It's a jewelry level, an ornament level, where it becomes one with you. The same thing is in regards to seichel and midas of the nefesh. Yes, seichel and midas are only tikkunin, but they're only garments. But they're the type of garment that the nefesh becomes united and really beautified or corrected with. So that becomes one. And it works in a way of a tool in the hand of the person that's using the tool. If you're a craftsman or you're a laborer and you have an axe in your hand, the axe doesn't have its own ideas, right? It just follows instructions. That's the level where it gets so united with you that it becomes you. It's not its own entity. Okay, the reason why we're stressing this so many layers and examples is to understand what are Sefiros. On the one hand, we say they're your essence, they're your consciousness. On the other hand, we say they're garments. In Tanya, we say no, thought, speech, and action are garments. So to clarify, he says there's two types of garments. There are garments in the literal sense. They're distant from you. They're separate. They're just an expression or a tool of expression. That's a garment. You can't say that, you know who you are, what you said before. That's not me. Today I said something nice. Tomorrow I said something nicer. It's not me. It's something that I choose to say, I choose to do. But what I think, that's me. Or my ability to think is me. The capacity to love, or the capacity to have a certain awe, respect, fear, that's me. We're saying it's me, but it's not really you. It's much closer than the garments. It's your Sefiros of your nefesh, but it's still a mode of expression. Really, really tight. It's like your jewelry. It's even jewelry is like, but it's jewelry that is becoming one with you, beautifying you. It's like your body and your soul. Your body and your soul. Yeah, it's your body. It's you. It's very connected with you. Is it your neshama? No, your neshama lasts forever. Hopefully our bodies also, but the way it's been designed, right? The neshama lasts forever. The body has a certain date to it. Okay.
Expiration date.
Hopefully not. It's not like milk. Sheikh Chamas will live forever. Right?
Can't wait.
Yeah. Okay. What's our proof that seichel and midas are not really the essence? Because they change. Essence, and this is very fundamental to realize, essence does not change. Okay? If it's real, it will never change. It won't even develop. Development means that it was not enough till now, it wasn't good enough, it wasn't mature enough, and now it became better. So it's not, when you started, you weren't fully there. Either you weren't realized or you weren't, it's not essence. Okay? The seichel and midas of a person, they develop, right? A child loves simple things, and they cry if they don't get certain things. They get a little bit older, and that level of love changes. What I care for and what I appreciate and what really does it for me is not the same as when I was 2 years old. You give me a balloon, which lasts for 20 minutes, and I'm in seventh heaven. When you're an older person, you give me a balloon, I'm annoyed, right? Or seichel, it says that when a person gets older, it should work, is a person's mind gets more settled, more even killed, you're more like, let's call it maturity. So your seichel develops. Your seichel is part of your nefesh. If it's really part of my nefesh, the way we would assume, it wouldn't mature. It's essence. So it turns out that our nefesh has only a certain shine that's in the body. The actual nefesh is not here. The part that's in our body and gets impacted by it is, but it's like a shine, a ray of the neshama. There's levels to the neshama. The part that goes into the body and gets impacted and develops and so on, that is a shine from the neshama. So seichel and midas are only shines of the nefesh, and they're the keiches that spread out into the body, but they're not the essence of the nefesh itself. However, the nefesh does operate through these seichel and midas. In other words, what's the consciousness of the nefesh? What is the nefesh doing? It's seichel, it's midas. It's these modes of expression. Okay, so based on this, we can understand what are these tikkunin, chachma and midas of Atzilus. There's 4 worlds. Okay, remember we started the question and we said, Eliyahu said, "You are 10, but you're not one. You're 1, but you're not one of the 10." Right? Because when you say when Hashem is 1, okay, there's 10. He's number 1. That's great, but that means multitude. You're 1, but you're not part of the count. You're the only one. From you come Eser Sfirin, Eser Tikkun, right? And we said we need to understand that. To understand that, we introduced the concept of the nefesh. The nefesh also has 10 levels. What is it? It's a garment, but it's a very united garment. It's not a distant garment. It's like a body. Once we get that, now we could understand what goes on in Atzilus. Atzilus is the highest world. There are 4 worlds. The world of Atzilus also has 10 levels. The idea of 10 spheres exists in every form of creation, but in different ways. In Atzilus, these 10 levels are so united with it, they're not distinct as 10 different categories. This is Chochmah, this is Bina, this is Das, and so on. Right? The higher you go, the less they're seen as an independent entity. Just like you have 2 types. You have Machshava and Maisa are separate, those garments. The 10 spheres are united as one. Okay. This is what we say, that Hashem is Chachma, your wisdom, but you can't understand you with wisdom. In other words, wisdom comes from you. So you're not wisdom, but you're the source of wisdom. Which means you can't define Hashem, obviously, but we start to realize the different things that come from Hashem. In this context, it's the Sefiros, Chachma per se. What does this mean? So he gives a beautiful example. We know that there's no blade of grass which doesn't grow, which grows or moves, without a mazel that's above it telling it to grow or to move. It can't, that's just how it operates. So you have now a fruit that comes from the ground. This apple is sweet. Your taste bud, your palate feels it, enjoys the taste. Where did the fruit come from? In the ground, there's a koach hatzemeach. There is an ability to sprout. Causes, you could put a seed in sand, it's not going to grow, right? In the ground, a seed has, the earth has a certain quality that it produces an apple. And it causes it to grow. And this apple is sweet. Are you going to tell me that in the earth there's some sweetness? If I dig a little further, if I eat the right soil, it's going to be sweet? It's not sweet. Out of it comes sweetness. But the ground is not sweet. There's no taste there. In a similar manner, from Hashem comes Chachma. But he's not Chachma. You can't define him as wisdom. But it comes from him. So it's obviously, right? He's wisdom. Wisdom comes from you, so you got to be wisdom. He's much greater beyond wisdom. Just like you could produce something, but you don't have that. You're not that. You're the source of it, but you're not that. So what happens is it goes through many different stages and levels, and it results in that sweetness. Point is, 2 things. Number one, you have Sefiros that are united with the person, they're very close to them. And then you have, which are different than garments that are separate. Thought, speech, and action are things that you decide. I'm going to express something, how I feel, based on what I'm going to think or say or do. Then that's who you are, yeah. But that helps us understand how the Sefiros operate in Shemayim.
Technically, so what you're saying is that there's 2 different types of garments.
Exactly. There's clothes and there's jewelry. Clothes are distant. Jewelry is united with. Thanks for joining. We're going to conclude here. And tomorrow we'll continue.
Oh yeah, very powerful.
Thank you.